Joining me now, two of my good friends, young Republicans doing a fabulous job. Thomas Pruner is with us. Thomas is the state chair for the Young Republicans. Also, Jesi Rapelje is with us. Let me get your name right, Jesi. Sorry about that. I apologize. And Jesi is the Chesapeake chair and national committee woman for the Young Republicans. And they started an organization called Grow Our Party, playing off the GOP, Grow Our Party. Wanted to get you guys on today, Thomas and Jesi, because number one, I feel that everything that the Republican Party is doing right now is shrinking the party. That's why I'm opposed to these rigged conventions that we're getting more of. How do, as young people, let's start with Thomas Turner, as chairman of YRs in Virginia, how do you grow the party, Thomas, and get more young people involved?
Well, John, thank you so much for having me on, and also congratulations to you for being elected our delegation chairman. I was very glad to cast my ballot for you yesterday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the biggest things that we as young that we have to do in this day and age is begin starting to listen to the next generation that are coming up in our party. One of the biggest problems that I've seen is that a lot of times young people are like, man, the Republican Party is stuffy and with old people, and that's not further from the truth. We all share the same basic issues of limited government, fiscal responsibility, and lower taxes. When you start talking those issues, young people start listening. Because as my generation, when I go look at my paycheck, because of some of the policies that our president has put forth, I got a little more money in my paycheck. Those are the type of issues that we have to start talking about. Another biggest thing is we have to become more inclusive. It doesn't matter, for instance, my organization. I have LGBTQ Republicans in my organization. I've had Muslims serve in my leadership team. I have Hispanic people serving in my leadership team. I have people from various backgrounds coming together to talk about conservatism. And that's what the Republican Party has to do if you want to engage my generation. A lot of times that we still think that we have to be this only solely stick to the traditional style of politics. Well, unfortunately in Virginia, after 10 years of losing elections, that hasn't worked. We have to do a new playbook, and that is going to different communities and talking about the Republican Party. The message that it is saying that, what do we have to lose? Because we bring opportunity, we bring the right policies, and we bring the right leadership style that is needed in a time such as this. And I think that more young people that I've talked to, more young people that my colleague Jesi has talked to, and other YRs, young people are starting to see that, especially with the growing 2A movement and the extremism coming from our governor in Richmond.
Jesi Rapelje, you're chairman of Young Republicans in Chesapeake. What is Grow Our Party? What is that meant to do, Jesi?
So Grow Our Party was really started as a way to move past some of the divisions that have existed in the Republican Party for a long time. I'm sure most of your listeners who are involved in the conservative movement in Virginia are probably familiar with a lot of the factioning that's going on. And so we wanted to start Grow Our Party to move past that. And also, the Young Republicans has been a fantastic tool for Thomas and I to reach out to new voters and new conservatives. But there's a lot of opportunity to reach out to Republicans of all age. And so we wanted a vehicle to do that with, because there's lots of new activists who are getting involved this year, especially with the 2A movement and with the policies that Governor Northam has put forward. There's a lot of people who are tuning in and wanting to get involved who really haven't before. So we wanted a way to move past all of the kind of divides that have been in the party before and say, let's actually build coalitions. Let's get our units back in working order, because right now we have a lot of anemic units all over the Commonwealth as well. And Thomas and I have had some experience putting on trainings for the Young Republicans. We've done one on the party structure, which a lot of newer people don't understand as much. We've done one on voter education. We've done voter registration trainings. We've done trainings on campaign technology like Sidekick, which is what the Trump team is using right now, or i360, things like that. So we really want there to be resources, because I think often a lot of our local units and a lot of our activists around Virginia, they want to be effective, but they don't have the resources to do that. So we wanted to create a vehicle both to connect people with shared values from around Virginia, but also to have the opportunity to provide resources that some units maybe don't even know that are available or don't even know that they need. So we've already put up a bunch of great articles on our website, growourparty.org, different things relating to the party structure, to candidate recruitment, to building an effective unit. And we're also planning a lot of grassroots trainings so that we can partner with local groups, whether that's coalition groups like Young Republicans and the Women's Federation and College Republicans, things like that, or whether it's with local units or districts or whatever, because we want to make sure that everyone is connected to resources. And we've actually already had, I think, about 4 people who have reached out to us in the last week and have never been able to get in touch with their local units before, but have wanted to be involved in the Republican Party and Republican activism. And they see us as a vehicle to be able to get in touch with someone finally after years. We had somebody reach out who had been trying to get involved with our local unit for 8 years and just found our group and messaged us on Twitter. And we were able to get her the information to connect her to the right people, to connect her with Republicans in her area who are doing really great activism right now. And so it's really helping to not only grow the base, but strengthen the people who are already in the movement.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. We're with Jesi Rapelje. She's a national Trump delegate going to Jacksonville, and we applaud her for that. She's also the Chesapeake Chair and National Committee woman for the Young Republicans out of Chesapeake in the 3rd District. And we're also with Thomas Turner. Thomas is the state chair of the Young Republicans of Virginia. Thomas, let me get to you a minute. When you look at young people today and all the various left-wing movements, I mean, it seems like young people in college moving away from Republicans, moving towards Bernie Sanders, AOC, socialism, Marxism, marching with various organizations like BLM and others. I mean, how do you really turn the corner and get, with all the indoctrination going on in these colleges, young people to turn the corner and vote for Republicans and vote for Trump?
I think the biggest thing first is, John, is that I always tell Republican activists, are you willing to get beat up? What I mean by that is, are you willing to go into the belly of where the liberals have a hold and start talking and listening to the concerns, misconceptions that young people have? And I say that with any group that we go to, whether it be a minority group, whether it be, women, whether it be any entity that Republicans traditionally go to. I say, are you willing to go in there and first listen to their concerns, their fears, and then are you willing to give a response that with truth and facts, so this is actually what our government's doing, this is actually what our president's doing, this is actually what the Republican Congress is doing, this is actually what our Republican legislators are doing, and start giving that dialogue back, because one of the problems is we have dismissed that college group. We as a party have begun to dismiss that group, and I can tell you, my friends in college Republicans will tell you that they are fighting and they have won many battles on the forefront, especially in the Commonwealth of Virginia, to bring more people to our party. And especially now they're starting to see the overreach of the Democrats. Light bulbs are starting to go off, and a lot of people saying, oh, wow, I might not agree with the Republican Party on every single issue, but boy, they're close to what I believe and what the Democrats are selling me. I don't agree with the Democrats on anything. And that's where we as a party have to be like, okay, welcome to the party. You agree with me on 80% of the issues? Welcome to the Republican Party. Because the bigger that we make our tent, the bigger that we are going to be successful in the long run. And that's why it's so important that we combat any group that's coming into the Republican Party of Virginia that's going to try to shrink our leadership team and also try to shrink the voices of the next generation at State Central.
Thomas, so when you go to college campuses around Virginia, whether it be UVA, Virginia Tech, or Radford in the South, or you go to Virginia Wesleyan or Virginia Beach, VCU, whatever college campuses you go to as a young Republican, how do you get students registered? How do you break the hold that it seems like the left-wing organizations have on them? I mean, you kind of mentioned, stand up and get in the fire, but a lot of people don't want to do that. We got colleges that want safe places, and if you put a Trump sign up, kids say they need to take a day off. They can't take a test because they're traumatized by it. How do you deal with that? I mean, in the real world?
Well,
Thomas.
John, in my capacity, we have another organization that is exclusively on college campus called College Republican Federation of Virginia. They're another affiliate organization of the Republican Party, nationally recognized, just like my organization, the Young Republicans. But the biggest thing that they do is that they go on campus and they actually do campaign. They debate the college Democrats. In my time in college Republicans, one of the biggest things that we often did was debate the college Democrats, and we talked about different various issues and really went into the fray and responded to a lot of their misconceptions about what the Republican Party stands for. Again, a lot of people talk about the safe spaces and all those other things. People have to realize that you have to get into the belly of the beast. I know people are scared of it. I know a lot of conservatives are like, no, I don't want to, cause a ruckus, but honestly, sometimes you have to. A lot of our movements in our country were started by people who, caused a little bit of good trouble. And we have to be reminded of that when, we talk about our founding fathers. We talk about, some of the warriors of the past, that they didn't just, sit on their hands and say, oh, no, I'm just going to play it safe. You have to sometimes be uncomfortable to win hearts and souls back to the right side of the aisle.
All right, let's get to Jesi Rapelje, 3rd District. Both Jesi and Thomas are national Trump delegates. They'll be going to Jacksonville for the convention. Thanks, guys, for running for that and for doing that and leading the way with young people. Jesi, also the chairman of the YRs in Chesapeake. She's out in the 3rd District. And Thomas Turner is the Virginia YR director. How do we get young voters in Virginia? Let's just focus right now on Virginia. How do we get young voters in Virginia in the next 100 days to register, get involved, and get on Team Trump, Jesi?
So one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that if young Republicans or young people who are conservative or who are on the right are getting involved, that they have a seat at the table. So right now, one of the things that Grow Our Party is doing is putting forth amendments for State Central. One of those will increase the voting power of auxiliary groups like the Young Republicans, the Women's Federation, and the College Republicans. Now, this is really important because it makes sure that, unlike what the Republican Control Committee is doing to try to shrink that representation, it makes sure that we have a seat at the table. So a friend of mine was saying something really interesting last night to me, is that there is a group of teenage Republicans in New Kent called the New Kent TARS, so the New Kent Youth Republicans, and they have gotten involved, and they've been attacked a lot by a lot of members of their committee and by some other folks. And it's really unfortunate because these guys are high school kids that are going to be able to register to vote soon, and they've done like over 50,000 contacts for President Trump so far. Now, this may seem a little bit rambly, but those people are fighting the same battle that Thomas and I and some of my friends were fighting just to have a voice at the table 10, 15 years ago. And it's really unfortunate because if we want more young people to really invest in the Republican Party, come over and be committed and help us win elections, we need to make sure that when those people get involved or when they ask questions or when they see us at things, we can offer them a little bit of ownership of what the conservative movement is. Because we can't expect people to buy in to a party that doesn't listen to them and doesn't want them here. So I think it's really important that as we do outreach to younger people, one, that we go out into the community, into places where young people are, whether that's food festivals, although some of those aren't happening this year. Thomas and I have been to a lot of community organizations. We've been to a lot of festivals and concerts and community days and places where young people are out and enjoying themselves and willing to have a conversation. But once we invite them in the door, once they take up the offer, we need to make sure that they have a voice and that their concerns are the concerns of the Republican Party, along with the concerns of older Republicans, because they're equally important.
Well, you know what? I love what you guys are doing. I love the Grow Our Party GOP initiative because that is really what we have to focus on. And one of the things that's frustrating me is there's so many myopic efforts out there to shrink the party even further, like I said before, keep it small, control it all. And we're losing. And we're losing election after election after election. You're not going to win by subtraction. You only win by addition and by getting your message out and getting more people involved. And I think that's what both yourself and what Thomas Turner are attempting to do. Thomas, let's get back to Grow Our Party, your organization, the initiative now started by you and Jesi, which I think is a great idea. Let's get to your short-term goal. What's your goal for Grow Our Party? What's your number one objective between now and November 3rd, Thomas?
Well, the first big objective is at the state convention, John. This group was started. I do have to give one quick shout out to Kerry Allen, who's the 4th District Chair, who's been a big role in this as well. But our first biggest objective is to combat the Republican Change Committee, as they call themselves. We call them the Republican Control Committee, attempt to shrink the size of State Central from about approximately a little over 70-some voting members to 54, which includes specifically taking away the seats from our 3 affiliate organizations, the Women's Federation, which has done 86,000 voter contacts in 2019, and the College Republicans and the Young Republican seats, which ultimately we did well over 100,000 voter contacts last year. And they're trying to say that this will streamline the process of the Republican Party of Virginia. And our response is very simple. Number one, expand our seats to be a full delegation similar to our congressional districts, and give the presiding officers, myself as chairman, my counterpart in College Republicans, and my counterpart in the Women's Federation, a full vote on the Executive Committee so we can give full voice and give our perspective to the issues at hand. Second, we have a conflict of interest amendment, which came out of the 5th Congressional District fiasco, which was written by unit chairman Will Pace, which we hope will end the pay-for-play politics and having people voting on appeals when they're getting paid by campaigns. And finally, our Unit Chairmen's Association, which will bring the unit chairmen to the table as we make decisions for our party. That's the first major objective. The second major objective is to ensure that we start doing trainings, voter registration trainings, how to build a website, how to use social media effectively, how to get people, like Jesi said earlier, who had no idea how to connect with their local unit, how to get them involved in their unit. How to use the Sidekick app, how to use that as we go door knocking for Donald Trump, the congressional delegation. How do we show older members, for example, who may not know how to use technology or use that app, how will be able to help Trump, even with phone banking or even door knocking if they desire. Those are the big objectives this year, and then going into next year, hopefully working with people to find candidates to run for House of Delegates and also to run for local offices that are coming up in 2021 as we try to take back the governor's mansion after Trump takes Virginia in 2020.
Unbelievable. I love what you guys are doing with Grow Our Party. First order of business. I just want our audience to grasp this, right? Here's a Republican Party of Virginia that has lost 19 or 20 statewide races in a row. They've lost the majority in the House. They've lost the majority in the Senate. They're going to continue to lose seats everywhere we go. We've lost 3 congresspeople, 10th, 7th, and 2nd. This is all in a space of, since 2009, all right? It's just, this string of defeats is staggering. It is staggering, dating back to 2009. And now you've got a group of people. I just want everybody to grasp this. Kiara, stay with me. You have a group of people in the Republican Party apparatus that think the answer to this is further shrinking the party by taking the state central from 75 members to 55 members. Why? Because 20 of the members are pro-primary, and that's the Virginia Federation of Women that do all the work, the college Republicans, 2 of which are on the show now, Jesi and Thomas, that are out there busting their butt in their spare time, trying to grow the party and increase membership. I mean, this is, and the young Republicans, the college Republicans, they want to take them out. They want to take the women organization out. They want to strip them of a seat on State Central so they can shrink it and control it. This is what we're fighting, folks. Now, you can sit there and you can argue about Jim Herring's convention things and, why it should be up to the party. You can argue that all day long. Here's what you can't argue. Facts matter. The party is getting crushed in Virginia. We're in a no-growth mode. Here are two young people that want to do the opposite. And you got a group that are trying to change the bylaws to cut them out. What planet do you live on? Who in their right mind would do this? I would be looking for every possible way imaginable to grow the party and get young people involved and get women involved and get anybody involved that wants to be involved. Not shrink it to nothing. Unbelievable. Grow our party. We have to defeat, I don't even know what the apparatus is in defeating this thing. Is it on a ballot or something? Is it? Are we voting on this? Thomas, how's this thing work?
At the state convention on August
when is it?
15th, at the state convention on August 15th, all the delegates will have the opportunity to vote for our three amendments and reject the amendment from the Change Committee to reduce the size of State Central.
You got to reject this. I don't know if you're voting on August 15th. You got to go to your district. There'll be more information on that. It's again, we couldn't have a convention because of COVID. Not our fault. Nobody's fault. But I tell you what, if you don't defeat this, I don't even know, what is it called? What are they calling it? What are they calling the amendment?
They're calling it the. Go ahead, Thomas.
They're calling it the State Central. They're just calling it an amendment to reduce the size of State Central. It's from they call themselves the Republican Change Committee. We call them the Republican Control Committee because they know to keep it small. That's the only way they can
Republican Control Committee. Does everybody listening get this? Do you get what they're trying to do? You just heard from Jesi and Thomas for 30 minutes busting their butt trying to get young people involved all over Virginia, and these people want to cut them out. What planet am I on? Unbelievable. If we don't defeat this, there is no party in Virginia, as far as I'm concerned. Jesi and Thomas, thank you for all you do, and just stand up to them. And we have to defeat this on August 15th. And instead of worrying about growing the party and winning the state for Trump and getting Nick Freitas elected, here we're fighting about shrinking State Central members. I can't take it. John Fredericks Radio Network.